News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Welcome to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
I'm Allan Gilbreth with AllanSpices.com.
And I'm Maximilian, and I want you to guess how old this man is. I want to wish a very happy birthday to Dick Van Dyke.
101. No, he's 100.
He's
turned
100.
Everybody
Just
knows
turned
that,
100.
Max.
Centenarian, happy birthday. But not only that, but it's also the National Horse Day and National Violin Day.
The horse thing seems very vague. Like, okay, I mean, that could encompass... The horse is a noble creature, and... Okay, National Horse Day?
National Horse Day.
All right, I'm writing all this stuff down here, man.
And then also, it is National Violin Day.
Okay.
Talk about craftsmanship, and that's what gets the text line blowing up is when you start talking about the wooden instruments.
Well, I love musical instruments. I mean, some of the, like you say, Max, some of the woodworking and the craftsmanship that goes into these things, pretty cool. And the science, right? There's a big science behind.
Oh, there's. I even know the secret behind a Stradivarius violin.
Well, it's the wood, right? That's why we'll never have another.
That's why we'll never have another one.
Stradivarius. So,
and you want to know what the most expensive Stradivarius is?
What's that?
One of the most? It was sold at an auction for $15 million.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So I suggest that Mr. Van Dyke celebrate National Horse Day by riding a horse and playing the violin. I bet he can. The guy's a talented musician.
Isn't there an episode of the Dick Van Dyke Show where he is playing like a violin?
I don't doubt it, man. He's very talented.
Oh, no, I'm thinking of Gomez Adams.
Well, happy birthday, Dick Van Dyke. What an American icon, I dare say, right?
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
I think that's fair to say. So, well, boy, do I got a full list here, Allan. I gotta dole it out carefully. Well, we teased this last week, so I think we should I should mention this. Allan, I got literally in the last 23 years of living in my house, I got the lowest MLGW bill I've ever gotten.
Okay.
And I think there's a few factors, but I think we need to unpack this. I wonder if other people are getting lower bills or high. I know I was getting a pretty high bill for the end of the summer coming into there. And then, but anyway, you think there's a few factors involved with this. So
You have made some substantial changes.
that's true. So in Allan's Week in Review, it's a beautiful day at the county dump,
It
right?
is.
A trip to the dump, I think, is worthy of its own segment there.
You know, there is something about that. We're just going to, I got some stories. I got stories.
Okay, in our Tool Tales, we're going to do a primer on primer, and I suspect this is going to turn into a point-counterpoint. I don't know that you and I are going to agree fully on primer application, or primer selection, I should say. There's a few primers I have no use for that other people just hold up as like the holy grail of primers. So I'm going to, give you my opinion, and I'm sure you'll give me your opinion, and so we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. In great moments in building history, what do you think of this? The home of the world's most famous Christmas tree, Rockefeller Center. Well, I got to be honest, Allan. In researching this, I learned quite a bit. I didn't realize the
was
full
like 22
history.
acres.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, and then the history of it's pretty cool, actually. And so I thought that would be something cool to unpack. If we have time, we still have a cosmic homeowner segment floating out there. To tease that, I'm just going to say that Allan and Max and I are helping to save the environment. And the reason is because you and I basically, all three of us, we basically don't care about fashion, and we wear our clothes until they wear out, and then we throw them out. So at least I do. I don't know. And by doing that, Allan, you and I are saving the environment. So
Yeah, quite a bit, actually. And plus ourselves a lot of money.
yeah, we're going to talk about textile waste, basically, in the way to, it's a bigger problem than people might realize. So there's a lot more. I better stop. We better stop there because there's quite a bit to get to. And, of course, we would love to hear from you if you're celebrating Dick Van Dyke's 100th birthday or National Horse Day or National Violin Day at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline, 901-683-0989. But before we get to any of those topics, This is a fun one. I cleaned it, Alan, before. If anybody's wondering, I did clean this thing before I brought it in. So. I promise, Ditch. I just thought he might not like that, but go ahead and tell people, I guess, what we've got here.
Well, you are holding the CO2 cartridges to a power plunger.
Oh yeah. So, folks, if you go to the if you have teenagers,
great way to make a big mess,
or if you got kids that play with Legos or anything, you've probably had clogged sinks, and I'm sure you've had clogged toilets. Now, Alan, this is strictly, in my household, this is strictly for sink clogs. But, it's not just a one-stop shop when it comes to plunger selection anymore. So there's a lot of advanced technology when it comes to this. So, folks, if you can imagine it, it looks kind of like a cross between a plunger and a pogo stick. Sort of, don't you think?
It's gonna act halfway between those two too.
But if you look at if you go to our Facebook page, you'll see a picture of it. So at the top of this thing, there's a little removable cap where you stick a CO2 cartridge.
Yes.
And so you are gonna have to keep a spare pack of these, but you take it out and then you stick the CO2 cartridge in there carefully because these things are explosive, and then you put it in there firmly into the sink under the water, and you smack the thing, and it gets in like a blast of air, like a accelerated, like a shotgun blast of air.
Yeah, a shotgun's a good word for it.
And in a good case scenario, it unclogs the sink. In a bad case scenario, you've got
new plumbing to put
20
in.
new problems that you didn't have before. But where do you land? Okay, this is one of these. This is. Be very selective who gets to use this in your house.
Yes, and where, and
what
and how.
And before you use it, look under the sink and see what sort of shape your drain pipes are in.
Yeah, let's just
actually, I don't know why I brought this in. This is a dangerous tool. But,
I take it. Well, okay. I got a good story for it. So the good story is rice.
Oh, I hate that. Going down the drain.
Oh, my gosh. Too much rice on too long of a passage. And happily, there was just enough pressure in it to keep it moving forward and get rice out of the line.
Okay.
And that was only because of the bizarre design of this kitchen, that it had a drain pipe that they had remodeled the kitchen. So originally the kitchen was built, we're going to say, facing right. And when they got done, the kitchen was kind of facing out to the middle, but, they weren't going to dig up the foundation, so they just kind of creatively ran the drain back to its original exit point.
Are you saying that the drain now had to run further to get out?
Like 20 feet.
Well, okay. All right. I'm keeping a list here of all
which was actually very clever.
20 feet?
Yeah, it was very clever, and they hit it well because the sink went from the back wall to the island and was, so they very creatively came up with ways of getting what and again, you kind of always go back to the purchaser. This is what they wanted, so this is what they made. And fundamentally, it worked perfect until they had a big party, and the dinner that night, rice was the base of the dish.
Oh,
and
gosh.
So now instead of scraping it, this is why you also, make sure you have experienced people doing your dishes, because rather than scraping, instead of scraping the rice off into the trash can, it went down the drain.
What's a worse sink sin for you, Alan?
This is pretty close.
No, is it in terms of hear me out. Is it dumping grease down the drain, or is it dumping rice down the drain? Which is the lesser of two evils?
They're both evil.
Okay, no. Those are two very drastically different problems, because the grease down the drain is going to accumulate with everybody else's grease out in the main.
Oh, it's going to make a fat berg.
That's where you're going to get a fat berg, which is an entirely different beast. And fat and wipes are a bad combination.
Yeah, flushable wipes are not flushable. That's a myth.
Oh, my gosh. So now in the private drain, oatmeal, rice, anything soft,
pasta,
mushy, I've never really...
Oh, I've unclogged spaghetti.
I've only seen pasta once, and it was actually thin strand spaghetti.
There you go.
Where they got it gooped up in there. So yeah. So all right. They put all the rice down, and of course now the sink's backed up because they didn't use enough water. The other thing is you have to flush enough water. I know we don't want to waste water, but I will tell you now, whatever it is you're doing in your sink, you got to run the water a few extra seconds to make sure whatever it is you just did keeps moving.
Especially if you got 20 feet of extra drain pipe, which I guarantee code enforcement wasn't consulted on this project.
Oh,
no way.
Well, I'm just telling you what I walked into, not how it got there.
Okay.
So we got there, we got all that loaded up, and happily it was all new PVC with good fittings.
Right.
That's the first thing I looked at. And I'm like, okay, let's break out the power plunger.
There we go.
Boom, put that baby in place, got it put down, got everything stuffed, all the cracks sealed, fired that mother up, and sure enough, it didn't solve the problem, but it blew a hole through it enough to where we could get the water moving and get the rice on out of there.
All right, we got one or two parting thoughts about the CO2 power plunger when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
All these science spheres are made of asbestos, by the way. Keeps out the rats. Let us know if you feel a shortness of breath, a persistent dry cough, or your heart stopping, because that's not part of the test. That's asbestos.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from AllanSpices.com. Allan Spices over at AllanSpices.com, which I have a field report coming up later, Allan, about that. We gave him a test run at our house this week. And our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, we want wish Mr. Dick Van Dyke a happy 100th birthday. He's been all over the news this year, because, I mean, talk about a good run.
Well, it's not that he's 100. It's that he's, like, going to go dancing tonight.
Yeah, he's 100.
He's awesome.
He's going to go celebrate.
He is just pounding it out. He is doing great.
He may incorporate all three holidays today.
The Hollywood, actors and actresses that are still alive from way back in the day are kind of kicking it. Like, there's someone I did a daily deviation on named Karen Marsh-Dahl, who's 106 years old and still giving out dance lessons, even though she got into a plane crash in 1949.
Yes. Isn't that something? Holy smoke. So Joyce Randolph from the Honeymooners just passed away at like 99 or something. So, I mean, good for them and having a great run. So, and today is also National Horse Day and National Violin Day. We were talking off the air about, boy, there's fewer things better than a well-played violin. Mm-hmm. But isn't it funny, Allan? A badly played violin is like, like sonic torture.
Until it's well played, it's you got to love those children while they're trying to practice.
Oh my gosh, yep. I know all about. My son played the violin, and those early months were pretty brutal. So hey, but Allan, before the break, I feel like it's funny because I brought in a must-have item of the week, and now I'm thinking this almost might be a must-not-have item of the week because it's basically, folks, if you go to our Facebook page, you'll see it's a CO2 powered sink plunger. There's a few things about this, though. It has to be used in the right hands.
Yes.
So this is again like the violin. It
has to be used in the right hands. If it's badly used, here's the other thing. So, folks, if you can imagine you have a clogged sink, right? And so, first of all, you don't just shove this thing in the sink. You have to remove, like, for example, in the bathroom. Right. I use this there's a bathroom sink at our house that always clogs. So you have to take out the little plunger thing so that it has and this thing has to be shoved tightly into that hole. Yep. And that's important. And also you have to fill up the sink a little more so that it's completely submerged. I mean, at least I do. Mm-hmm. You want to create a watertight seal. And then simultaneously you have to be pushing this thing hard enough against the drain so that it keeps a tight seal, and shove the handle with your other hand, which always has a tendency to jam as well. I forgot to mention that. And then when it works correctly, though, you get this, like you hear this force of air, and then you get this interesting little vapor trail, kind of like a smoking gun when you're
little
done.
CO2 trail. Yep.
But also, as Allan indicated, boy, if the drains underneath are not in the right shape, like if the drain's loose, you just suddenly blasted at high pressure something through there, and you might blow the U-bend out there.
There's no you might, dude. That's the number of those I've seen skidding across the floor.
So there's probably as many horror stories with these
I only
things
got a lot more horror stories than I got successes with those.
Plus, there's. Have you ever seen drain pipes where the U-bend, you can't tell until you take it out. Like it's old and it's deteriorated, and the bottom is almost like paper thin. Like you can stick your finger through there. So this will blow a hole through that, too.
Oh, easy. I'm not a big fan of chrome at this point in history anyway. So if you still got chrome underneath there, I have no idea how you still have chrome under there. I would definitely upgrade that to PVC.
Okay.
Because, the other problem with that thing is that it is a powered gas push. I cheat and I go the other direction these days.
Oh, low tech.
Yeah, well, no, I still go high tech because I will go get the shop vac. And I will create a vacuum. I'll create a vacuum. And before anybody texts me, yes, I know all about swamp gas and I know it's flammable. And,
Yeah, I was just thinking of all the garbage you're sucking in there,
well,
man.
This is why it's called be aware. Know what you're doing.
Do we have to put disclaimers on our advice today? Because
yes, we're putting
neither of these things we're talking about are probably
major advice. This is one of these and you're right. You're always sooner or later going to have a plug. But I would definitely try the more traditional methods.
Yeah.
But now let me tell you. Now I have those for when I have a large complex and I'm working on, and you've got like 100 residents and 100 toilets.
Oh, no, I don't use it in the toilet.
I use those in toilets.
Okay.
I use those in toilets. Those work for me 1,000 times better for the toilets because you're dealing with a porcelain passage straight into a 3 or 4 inch pipe.
Yes, but here's the reason I don't use them in the toilet, Allan, because boy, talk about disclaimers. There's one other problem with these. As I said, you got to shove this thing in tight. If you don't shove it in and create a perfect seal, what can happen is it'll blow all the water back in your face and all over the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, do you want toilet water and whatever's in there blasting you in the face?
I am very good at using those. I do not do that.
That's Russian roulette, man. I'm not getting near that.
That's why you have the cornet horn on it. So you got a good tight fit. Boom.
Yeah.
And now whatever's somebody helped you with putting it down the toilet is now all the way into the big drain, and now you don't have to worry about it.
Okay. This may be our first ever must not have item of the week, now that I'm thinking of it. So, but anyway, we better, speaking of things, we better move it along. So, Okay, this is, I do have a follow-up report. Let me just get these real quick. So, last week, I want to thank everybody that came out to the inaugural Colonial Acres Christmas Parade. I told you, a big shout out to our buddy Kendrick Simpson. She organized this thing with 3 weeks. She had 3 weeks ago, now 4 weeks ago, she said, wouldn't it be fun to have a nice little Christmas parade in Colonial Acres, because she's part of the neighborhood association. And this was a nice parade, Allan. I gotta say. Awesome. So there was they had a antique fire engine from it's run by one of the Tigers fan groups. It's painted blue and everything.
Oh, okay.
They had an axe throwing trailer. Now that was cool. A mobile axe throwing trailer. That was neat. They had a couple floats. They had Mr. and Mrs. Claus. But the cool thing was the Colonial Middle School had their marching band and their cheer squad that showed up, and it was a nice parade that a lot of people from the neighborhood showed up, and then it ended over at the Holy Rosary parking lot, and so there were, I don't know, 200 or 300 people that took part in this, and everybody's excited, and next year it's going to be big. So they got a whole year to plan the next thing. But it was just a nice neighborhood event, and it was really good. So my second field report has to do with Allan's spices. Now, folks, I'm not just a what do they call that? I'm not just well, you're the owner, but you're also
you're
what
not
did
just
Cy
you're
Sperling
not
say?
ju-
I'm not just an owner. I'm a customer.
I'm not just a member. I'm a customer.
Okay, well,
Right.
I don't own it, but I am. So last week, and here's I've got a new blend in front of me, but we used some of the we used two of the spices my wife got a hold of the biggest chicken I've ever seen. It was huge. I'm like, is this a turkey? She said, no, it's a chicken. So I guess it was on.
That's an old broiler.
It had a good day over at the farm, but
Yeah.
she now I've never heard of this. She put some under the skin and on top of the skin, and the words savory, unique, delicious. There were all sorts of words used, but she's got high praise for Allan spices, and she wants more now. So you gave me two new blends today.
Yep. You see
But
them.
Allan, these things are flying off the shelves, and they're really good, man. I got to tell you. So
Well, thank you. I'm having having a lot of fun with this. This is, of all the crazy things I've done in my life, this is probably the most fun.
well, crazy to me. This is the most sensible thing you've ever done. You're taking you love cooking and you have experience with it, and why not? And everybody, is there a house that doesn't have spices in it? I mean, you talk about.
It's kind of fun. We'll be out at the Painted Tree this afternoon. As a matter of fact, everybody loves to talk about it.
Yeah.
How'd you do this? What is it? What's the blend? What's the proportions? There's a lot to doing a spice blend.
And Allan
So it's
does
a lot of fun.
And Allan does have an element of mad scientist about him. So it's like it kind of really just fits in your whole wheelhouse. But Allan, how do people how do they get their hands on some of these delicious spices?
Well, they can just pop over to actually the Painted Tree out on Giacosa, out by the little shopping center there out in the Wolf Chase area.
Okay. Yeah.
Just pop over there and go in. It's booth B20.
And
we've got a lovely selection, and of course I got more cool stuff coming.
And go to allanspices.com, ALLANS spices.com. All right, when we come back, Allan is going to try to help solve the mystery of why the MLGW bill is so low.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Why does no one visit me in my home?
'Cause your apartment smells like polygrip and cat pee.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
I mean, Allan, you're the chemist. Wouldn't the polygrip, drown out the cat pee or something? Okay.
No, they team up.
It accentuates it.
Yeah,
So.
they team up. Oof.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from Allan Spices over at allanspices.com, and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, of course, happy 100th birthday to Mr. Dick Van Dyke. Today is also National Violin Day, but today is also National Horse Day, and I think it's an opportunity, too, to I would love to know who your favorite horse is, both real and fictional. I mean,
Mr. Ed.
Seabiscuit, Mr. Ed. What about Hi-Ho Silver? What was Tonto's horse called over on the Lone Ranger? The Cisco Kid had a pretty cool horse. They're, modern day horses. And what was that one? There was a heartbreaking movie. It was like a real tearjerker about what was that movie?
Was it Warhorse?
War Horse is good, but there's one. It was like a Disney movie. It was all, oh gosh, now it's.
Was it Black Beauty?
Black Beauty. Oh boy, if you wanna find an emotional movie about a horse, go check out Black Beauty. But
I like that.
I would love to know about people's horses.
It suddenly comes to me. Scout.
Yes.
And I just
Wait, that was Tonto's horse?
Right, because Lone Ranger rode
Silver,
Rode
which is
Silver.
a white horse, but Tonto, I think, had the cooler horse.
Yeah, he had
His
the
was
smarter
black and
one.
white.
His was named Scout. Yeah.
Right.
I just like that scene in Blazing Saddles where the guy punches the horse. I know it's not a celebration, but it's still kind of funny.
It is kind of a
All right,
classic
that was
cinematic
Alex
moment.
Karras who came riding in on a Brahma bull. Yes.
Yeah. So if you've got a favorite horse, or maybe you own a horse, send us a picture. But a national horse, what a great I mean, you talk about a historic animal. I mean, what would civilization be if we didn't partner up with the horse.
That's actually why National Horse Day was created, because it was created by Congress in 2004 for the explicit purposes of celebrating the contributions of the horse to our country.
Bingo. There you go, man. So it's worthy of a celebration. So, and I think the perfect way to celebrate would be Dick Van Dyke riding in to his 100th birthday party on top of a horse. So
he might do it.
He's just the guy to do it. So in a minute, Allan is going to help me solve my MLGW bill conundrum. But before we get to that, let's talk about our good friends over at Groundworks, because Allan, actually, you did some business with them this week.
Yes,
right?
yeah. Over the last couple of weeks, we've had a Groundworks project with one of my buildings. So, I'll let you talk good about them for a minute, and then I'm going to complain about the architect to the building.
Oh, okay. All right, throw the architect under the bus. Well, because Allan, you've seen their operation, so you've seen the behind the scenes of what they bring to the table. But basically, Groundworks is all about the health and safety of the foundation of your home, because without a healthy foundation, you're going to have all sorts of problems. And so you may have, and all foundations are different from each other, even depending on, where you live or what the elevation is or what the climate is. You could have a basement or a crawl space or a slab or even a combination of all those, and they all have to be taken care of. And you need, proper drainage. You need a good, solid foundation. And the other thing about that makes it important to consult with Groundworks is that sometimes your foundation issues aren't obvious at first glance. You might not realize that problem that is over your head is actually caused by a foundation problem, like these cracks over your doorways or those stair-step cracks in your bricks or that odd musty smell that lingers in that one room. Well, it could all be an indication of a crawl space or of a foundation problem. And so there's nobody better than Groundworks. They're going to come over. They're going to do a thorough inspection. They have great detecting equipment. This is a comprehensive inspection. It's a free inspection, too, which is great. And then when they're finished, they're going to sit down with you, and you can go over, what they discovered. Hopefully what they discovered is that your foundation is in good shape, or maybe you have minor problems. But regardless of how big the problem is, Groundworks is equipped to handle it all. And so we highly recommend, get in touch. You need to know that the foundation of your home is in good shape. So contact Groundworks. You can call them over at 901-459-2290 or go to groundworks.com and book your free inspection today. But Allan, you've got on the ground.
Yeah. Oh, I got to see it in action.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about is an addition on a hilly lot.
Were they at the bottom or the top of the hill or in the middle?
In the side.
Okay.
So we're kind of coming off the top and going downhill.
Which is tricky, too.
And, you and I constantly, this is just one of these that reinforce so much about what we talk about here on the show sometimes, is that your house moves more than you think it does, and dirt is not stable.
No kidding.
Dirt moves.
Especially out here with all the water.
Well,
and
yeah,
everything.
And of course, this is where whoever cleared this land 100 years ago pushed stuff around, did this, did that, but they left hills and valleys and ups and downs. And some of those are good and stable, and it turns out this one is not. So what has happened is the addition has begun to separate from the house.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
And Groundworks actually came up with an amazingly fabulous solution. Instead of tearing everything off the building and building it again, is like, well, there's going to be 3 phases. So we're going to adjust it this much, stabilize it. Then we're going to adjust it a little more and stabilize it. And then we're going to finish. So I am absolutely thrilled that, we didn't have to tear half the building down.
Oh, man.
It sounds kind of like orthodontic work for your house.
Yeah, it's like a doctor, because they don't just do a big surgery all at once. Sometimes you do it in fate, right? You do one surgery, then in 6 months we're going to do the other.
As soon as we get this good and stable, then we can do step number 2, which will bring these 2 things closer. Then we can do the final tie-in, and my client couldn't be happier.
I know this is
So
probably...
I found it very good that somebody actually thought of this type of solution.
This is a question for Kurt Weir, our buddy at Groundworks, next time he comes in. But I'm awfully curious about how to create foundations with the idea of needing to move in mind, especially in earthquake-prone areas, because our buddy Ditch over, our program director Ditch actually talked about how during his time in Japan as a foreign exchange student, he noticed that they had parts of the floor where they're separated and they're meant to shift.
Because they have a lot of seismic, activity in Japan, right? And volcanoes and everything, so they have to think about movement. Well, you've told us about some of their architecture. Their buildings actually sway, but yeah, the foundation. I'm sure these days, I would hope there's some thought about that.
I can actually answer part of that for him. That is because when you see somebody pouring a foundation, I've had people always ask me, "What's with all the steel?"
Yeah,
we're out there with rebar. Bent rebar and wire everywhere. And what you don't see are the lengthy fiberglass fibers blended into the concrete. So you have several different ways of keeping the concrete together, and it gives it a certain amount of retention against motion.
Okay.
So that's why better poured foundations and more modern foundations don't crack like they used to.
Yeah.
You and I see this all the time, especially in a 100-year-old home. There's almost always a crack somewhere.
I got a question. Now, this is a concrete question. So, Max, because I know what you're talking about. There has to be shifting and stuff, but also, okay, perfect example. If you look at a sidewalk, they don't just pour a whole sidewalk every 5 feet or 4 feet. There's a line. Isn't that to do with expansion and contraction?
Exactly. If you don't do that,
that's why you have lines, Max. So there is expansion.
Yeah, we actually build in a failure point and it's not generally so much in the winter, but when you have one of these massive heat waves, there is a perfect example of a badly set sidewalk out in the Wolf Chase area. I'm going to have to remember exactly where it is, where they didn't put the gap. And it was a couple of summers ago. We had that really good hot spell, and the two pieces of sidewalk tinted up.
Oh, yeah.
And it's still tinted up today. Yeah. So I'll have to try to get a picture of that.
Okay. But yeah, good stuff. And so Allan's seeing it firsthand, street level foundation work.
Enjoyed working with them.
All right, well, let's tee this up. I think we'll have a chance to start this. But so, Allan, I got an MLGW bill. Now, in fairness, I got two bills in the summer that were among the highest I've ever had.
Right.
Now, of course, there was during that hot streak we were cranking the air conditioner and everything. But as we said, what was this, 2 or 3? I guess this was in September. I got a brand new HVAC system in my house and everything. So it is, it's the updated, new, state-of-the-art, efficient one. But then this last month, which I guess is being billed for November, I got the all-time low. I mean, it's lower by far. I mean, it's $180. And I have a 4-bedroom house. I don't know how that's possible, but I'm like, okay, is this a billing error, or is it because it wasn't that, we weren't running the heat really. It was a pretty mild November, but I'm not complaining at all, but am I about to get hit with another big bill to fix this? But
No, okay. You're not. One, we're going to go back to your kitchen remodel.
Okay.
And as I recall, you reported several times that you had found, how should we put this?
A giant hole.
Freeways through your home. Giant airports of air shuttling in and out.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we'll start with those.
Horrific drafts that are now closed up.
Yeah, we'll start with those when we come back.
Okay, so we're gonna unpack the mystery of the low MLGW bill when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Do you know what happens to a butter-based frosting after 6 decades in a poorly ventilated English basement?
I guess I hadn't.
Well, I have a feeling what you are about to go through is punishment enough.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Has Kurt Weir ever encountered a butter-based frosting in a poorly ventilated English basement?
They handle it all, Max.
We'll
so,
have to ask him.
Okay. I thought it's like aging wine. Just let it sit. But
No.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from Allan Spices over at allanspices.com, and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, we're discussing the fact that, okay, I did get a new HVAC system in my house, but and I'm not complaining, but I was stunned when I opened my MLGW bill, which for a 4-bedroom house was $180. Okay, Allan, I've never had a bill that cheap. I will say it averages about $300 a month generally. And then sometimes it's higher and sometimes, whatever. But this was shockingly low.
Right.
But I thought, okay, well, maybe they're going to hit me next month. I don't even know how they read the meters anymore, honestly.
Well, they have smart meters. They don't have to come read them.
Okay, so
it tells on you all by itself.
Well, I'm like, is this my future? This is great. I'm
All
really excited.
Well, let's start with our other buddy, Jay Hill.
Yeah.
He did you all kinds of favors.
Oh, yeah, because I got a beautiful Jay Hill Big M roof on my house.
You do,
It's only about 3 years
most
old.
importantly, you have an architectural roof,
Right.
which loses less energy than previous style of roofs.
That's true.
So, improvement number one, a couple of years ago, solved, and trust me, your roof was about as secure as Swiss cheese.
Oh, it was bad.
Your roof was
It
bad.
leaked. It was
Your
drafty.
roof was
squirrels.
Yeah, you were basically squirrel gardens. So all right, one. So we sealed up the attic, we sealed up the roof, which gave you a stable above atmosphere. All right, over the past 2 years, you have been renovating, and especially in your kitchen, you found just all kinds of.
Yeah, because the house is back in the 50s. I mean, I don't know. Maybe my house is, but I'm not finding a whole lot of insulation in the walls when I open them up.
No.
I don't know what they even used, if they used anything. But
They
in our
may not have.
kitchen, and we had sort of a unique homeowner before I lived there. Let's just say that.
You had a Fruit Loop.
Interplanetary.
It's all right. You had a
but
Fruit
anyway,
Loop. Yeah.
But there was a giant. We bought a new dishwasher, and I've never
Exactly.
in my time living there had any reason to take the dishwasher out. Well, when I took it out, there was a giant, like I'm talking almost the size of the dishwasher itself. There was just a giant hole in the sheetrock. I don't know why it was there. I don't know why nobody patched it up, but I
you did.
sealed it up, and it did make a huge difference. And I sealed up all the drafts under the other cabinets that I found, and so
All
yeah.
right.
So
So-
that did solve one problem.
All right. Well, we're going to pick on Groundworks for a minute when they tell you that most of the air in your house, at least 30 to 40% of it, comes from ground level. Your
Well,
crawl space.
Now,
or
I
that.
don't have a crawl space.
Well, but you did have a lot of draft at the floor level.
though. Okay.
So as the temperatures have dropped and cold air has sunk, it has not sunk into your house.
Okay.
So new dishwasher, much more efficient than the 20-year-old model you replaced. New roof,
well, we
much
got a
more
new-
stable attic.
Yeah, we got a new fridge and a new oven too. So
Well, oh
everything's
my
new,
gosh.
so,
Well,
yeah.
see, you've just right there, you cut your bill anywhere from 5 to 20% just on the new appliances.
Oh, cool.
Now you also got rid of the window units,
Yeah,
which pull a lot.
and they're noisy and annoying.
and they're noisy and all that, but they weren't exactly brand new either.
right.
And now you have basically replaced 4 window units, somewhere between 4 and 6 window units, with about 2 window units worth of power.
There you go.
This is sort of maybe a random aside, but perhaps somewhat related. It kind of makes me think of this episode of Top Gear that I saw where they were comparing like Bugattis from like back in the day, like even just the 90s to modern cars. And they were talking about the difference in the experience of speed, how the older cars were actually faster, much like the SR-71 Blackbird, which like was a super old plane, but it's still the fastest. It kind of makes, but it had greater speed, but the experience of the speed nowadays is a lot smoother as opposed to back then. And so it makes
was
me think of
loud
it.
and- yeah.
It makes me think of with this modern tech in Joe's house, you get the same level of efficiency, but the experience is a lot smoother.
I think that fit because I watched when it comes to vehicles, I watched Jay Leno, Max, and he was with Tim Allen, and he took a modern Toyota and he raced it against. It was just a regular old sedan, and he raced it against like a GTO that Tim Allen owned that was like all decked out like a hot rod, and the Toyota beat it.
Yes.
We have this sort of idea that these hot rods are faster, but
Well, they have the sensation of being faster because they were rougher.
It's loud. It feels like you're going faster.
Well, so this is our Christmas gift to anybody looking towards the spring.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I know it's going to be cold this weekend, but spring is like only 8-9 weeks away.
Yeah.
Buckle up, folks. We live in the South. We're not cold for very long. We got January, we got February, and then we're pretty much done.
Just when you think you can't handle anymore, it's like,
we're out of here. So as you're getting ready to get in here, number one, it all really comes down to insulation. You block up those holes, you have made a drastic difference to your home.
Yeah.
And again, this is another reason why I love to tell people, go walk around the house. Is that dryer vent fitting good?
Yeah.
Or is it rattling around in a big old hole? If it's rattling around in a big old hole, well, you're letting in bugs and you're letting in mice, but you could also be letting in lots and lots and lots of cold air. So that's what's driving your electric bill. So, in not just the finance side of it, but just in overall the cosmic homeowner, you have become a better homeowner because you have a more efficient house.
Well, I'm just sitting there doing the math on this, and I'm like, okay, let's just suppose for sake of argument, this thing lowers my bill, $100 a month. Well,
yeah.
It starts to pay for itself pretty fast.
Yes, it does.
It's like, and because I bought the 5-year same as cash deal, so I'm paying no interest on this, and then and so you start. I don't know. It's exciting, man. It is pretty cool to. I feel like I finally joined the 21st century.
Well, it's about time. I've been trying to drag you there for a decade. This is where we're going to point out to the average homeowner when you're looking at these type things, you're looking at what is called an ROI, return on investment.
Yeah.
So do you want to put in a giant rock garden with a huge waterfall in the front yard? All right, that's really not adding to the comfort of your home. Maybe the aesthetics, but not the comfort. But when we get into a home that is 30, 40, 50 years old, and a lot of the homes in the Mid-South are just post-World War II.
Right.
And we got a lot of subdivisions that were 70s.
I'd say there was a lot, yeah.
There was, Memphis had a huge growth spurt right around the 70s or so. And materials have changed. We don't have the, now we have hardy board.
Yeah.
Hardy board neither shrinks nor slides nor loses its paint job, and it doesn't rot like the original siding boards we put up in the 70s.
Now, there's a lot of advances in technology that have just sort of changed the game. And it's funny how something that, we remember from our childhood, Allan, is now antique. Which I don't like, but,
It makes me think that if you're trying to get the optimal ROI, don't go with anything that's, like, set to trend. Just go with something that's going to, like, increase the efficiency overall. Like, it's more utilitarian than less prone to trend.
Yeah, my feeling about the trend stuff. So it's
it's like you got a 30-year-old oven. It's not as efficient as a new one.
There you go. All right, well, hour one of Tool Talk Radio is in the can, but I'm looking forward to this. When we come back, we're going to find out all about Allan's visit to the county dump.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from Allan Spices over at allanspices.com, and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, it's been a pretty action-packed day. There's too much to recount, other than we do have it out there that we want to find out. Today is National Horse Day, among other things, and we want to find out who your favorite fictional horse is. I think Tonto from the Lone Ranger. You said his horse's name was Scout. I always liked him. I like the Cisco Kid. You know, growing up back in the 70s, you used to watch the Cisco Kid and the Lone Ranger on Saturday mornings. They had pretty cool horses, man.
My vote is still Mr. Ed.
Okay.
I just like Mr.
Well,
Ed.
you like his attitude, his sassy, cocky attitude. But so that's on the table. We would love to hear from you. But Allan, we can't recount it all. I mean, we've done too much and we got to move along. But I bet you there's people that are really upset. They're like, wow, I wish I would have heard what happened in the first hour. And they're all bummed out because there's no solution. But there actually is a solution.
And they can join our fans from literally around the world, including now Czechoslovakia.
Oh, nice.
I love getting the report that says where we heard.
It's interesting.
We're like 30, 40 countries now.
Wow.
It is stunning. But they can pop over to tooltalkradio.com, and we are a featured podcast on both Spotify and YouTube. And, of course, any place else you get your podcast, we are available. So pop on, give us a like, click on there, say hello. You can even subscribe and never miss an episode.
Share the program.
Absolutely.
Put it on in the background, especially if you got a home improvement project. I have one at my house. I've got one for the next several weeks. So now I'm probably not going to listen to myself, but I'm just saying it makes good. If you got projects like that, just put on Tool Talk. It'll keep you motivated. So, you know.
Well, speaking of which, in terms of like the active participation of the listeners, I'd like to get to the text line real quickly before we resume our discussion. Denise's vote for her favorite horse is Man of War.
Man of War. Wait,
Man of War.
That's a
racehorse.
Now, Man of War.
He was a great racehorse.
Wait, did Seabiscuit beat Man of War, or did I think they had a couple races? Wasn't it just those two against each other? We'll have to look that up.
I don't remember.
Man of War was a pretty impressive horse, that's for sure. So, all right, Denise, I appreciate that vote. So.
And then we got another text from anonymous texter 5376. They said, in regards to Allan's discussion of the thing that you're not, the must not have item of the week. It says, at least on the bright side, you don't have to take the U-bend apart. Although they misspelled it and they said to park.
How do you misspell U-bend?
No, to park instead of apart.
Oh, okay. Well, they probably did talk to text. So,
I'm good. No, Man of War and Seabiscuit never raced against each other because they're 16 years apart.
Oh, well, who was the horse that now it's bugging me? Because in that movie, that's a great movie, by the way.
The race of the century was Admiral versus Seabiscuit.
Okay.
And War Admiral was Man of War's son.
War Admiral and
okay, that was the race of the century. That's the one you're thinking of.
Okay, now I like the texter 5376's thing because we were talking earlier about this CO2 powered drain plunger that I brought in as the must-have item of the week. But as we started discussing it, we kind of both agreed maybe this is a must-not-have item.
Unless it's
only in the right hands.
Maybe
basically.
Unless you make it a deliberate means of destruction.
Well, you don't have to take the U-bend apart. It'll do it for you.
Yeah, and just don't put it, don't let your kids use this. And just be aware all sorts of things can go wrong. So I'm not guaranteeing any results with this thing at all.
And we want you to text us with the results of it going wrong.
Yeah, if you blasted a bunch of toilet water back in your face and into the bathroom,
don't do that.
I'm sure Deuce has stories. So, but let's move it along. Well, you got to turn that hotkey up, Max. Okay. He's too distracted with all this toilet talk. So, well, Allan, I'm excited to hear about what you did this week because this is a good topic, man. So,
well, all right. There's an old adage that contractors bury their dead. I don't.
Sometimes right next to the
I take mine to the dump.
Okay. Well, the county dump. How is it that we haven't talked about going to the dump very much? I mean, it's an interesting experience if you've never been to a county dump. Man.
Well, we have 3 in the area. Shelby County has one, DeSoto County has one, and Fayette County has one. I use all 3 of them on a fairly regular basis. And I do have a trailer. And I will confess, I went to the big box store and bought one of those dumpster bags.
Oh, those things are strong, man.
They are very stout. And what I do is I use it to line the trailer and then
That's a smart move, man.
Pile everything in it. And now I got like straps I can fold over the top of everything and tie it down. I am wrapping up this project in Fayette County. We are honestly down to paint and trim and hauling tools out. And, but, when you move stuff, you end up breaking up some concrete. You end up tearing this up or you end up digging that up. And this property had a lot of trash on it. Just,
You throw it in that thing, man.
Man, so we got the big bag out there and got it all loaded up and got the weird pieces of wire and odd pieces of concrete and that toilet that was there for some reason. I have no idea why there was a toilet there, but there was a toilet. And so we got it all loaded up and, I got to say, if you got a lot of stuff to get rid of,
Yeah.
take it to the dump. This is actually an amusing trip.
If you don't have a lot of stuff, go to the dump anyway. It's interesting. I don't know why. I find the dump very interesting. Now, you got to hit the right part of it, and hopefully you're upwind.
Well, depends on what they got going on. But, so this week happened to be the Fayette County dump.
Yeah.
And, if you guys are listening out there, hi.
Yeah.
Talk about a chilled and groovy place.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody out there has any stress in their life. They can't. They're just like the friendliest, happiest to see you. How you doing? Pull up on the scale. All right, go. And then they tell you where to take it. Either go to the barn or go to the destruction or go to the fire pile or, So
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
it's very relaxed. Now, I will say this a friend of mine has the trailer that will not back up.
What do you mean?
You cannot be. You can.
It doesn't.
This trailer will not go in reverse. This trailer will not back up. It will not behave.
Is it because it turns?
It's just this trailer. Just whatever you want it to do, it ain't gonna do it.
Okay.
So the cool thing is, what we do is we always go kind of early on an off day, so we can drive into the barn in exit 1. And drive around to exit 3, so now we're aimed properly and the trailer's in the right place.
There.
And we don't have to fight trying to back this stupid trailer up. So we get in there, and of course, we get it all unloaded. And what's fun is you also get to see what everybody else is getting rid of.
Oh, yeah. You kind of take stock
That's
of
the
the whole
hilarious
thing. Right.
part.
And then have you ever thought, why are they throwing that out, man? It's like, yeah.
Oh, no, I've seen stuff in there, and I went, wow, you should have got rid of that a long time ago.
Yeah.
Now, here's an interesting question. I'm sure I've opened up Pandora's box with this one. But for lack of a better term, what's the science behind building a dump? Because I'm
sure
trying to think of the materials that you use in terms of, let's just say, of preventing odor retention.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because gases can build up, right? And you can't just dump everything. Let's just be clear. You can't just throw your sewage and your
managing a dump is actually a fairly high-tech affair done with mostly low-tech stuff. So I'll just pick on the one I was at this week, and they have several different areas. They have a tire drop-off.
Oh, yeah. Tires
Hey,
are
guys,
its own thing.
quit leaving these, quit trying to hide these things in somebody's field. Go take them to the dump. It's a couple of bucks. Honestly, it's a couple of dollars. Mm-hmm. You can go down to the tire barn, drop them off, and these tires are now all destined to be reclaimed, recycled, and reused.
Right.
So congratulations, you just helped keep things moving on. There is also the barn, which is your household trash and that type of stuff. They also have metal reclamation. So a lot of the metals that get dropped off there can be compressed, crushed, stripped, and again sent for recycling. There's a lot of construction waste that just basically gets ground up. Mm-hmm. Now, one thing I will say about of what they call solid waste management in Shelby County is what happens to your Christmas trees.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people in Shelby County. There are going to be a whole lot of trees ready to go here in a few weeks.
How about medical waste? Do they handle that there too?
Yes. Generally, medical waste is handled through medical companies that make sure it has been neutralized or denatured before it goes into disposal or recycling. So that, again, specialists do specialist things, but, it's not terribly expensive to do the right thing. Now, in Memphis, we had a little problem a few years ago in the fact that everything that they were trying to compost and all that wound up catching on fire. Because
probably not the best thing to be burning your car tires.
Mulch will do that to you.
Yeah.
So massive kudos to the lovely people at Shelby County, because we now have a giant free mulch pile right over here on Walnut Grove.
Well, there you go. So we're going to have a few parting thoughts about the great institution of the county dump. And then later in our Great Moments in Building History, we're going to go to the other end of the spectrum and talk about Rockefeller Center in New York.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I need them 8,000 hens moved into their new cages. Sometimes they don't want to cooperate. But you give them a good shake and they'll settle down for you.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from Allan Spices over at allanspices.com, and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And off the air, we've been roundtabling and just sort of swapping stories about some of the happy, almost Zen-like memories of visiting the county dump. You know, Allan, back when I was a missionary, I used to go to the one over in Olive Branch quite a bit. And you're right, man. The people that work at the dump, they're fun. Yeah. And it's almost like pulling up. You know, when you get to a golf course and it's quiet and you're surrounded by nature and you're about to have a good experience. Well, hopefully, unless you have a bad one. But it's not unlike that to me. Everybody should go hang out at the dump. Max, we got to get you over there, man. It's
almost kind of like the waste equivalent of going to a cemetery, because it's like there's something very zen and calm about going to a cemetery.
Well, it's like, I don't know, man. But Max, before the break, you were talking about the logistics and the science, or the design work that goes into it. You don't just pull up and just throw stuff in a pile. I mean, there's actually thought, Allan, even down to the soil, right? I mean,
as one of the questions I asked was, how do you know where to put the dump? And I'm like, well, it's kind of like building a lake. They are looking for a certain geographic attributes to it. And one of the big things is clay soil that you can, you can kind of keep things where they're supposed to be.
So when I picture clay, I'm picturing something that once it's wet, you almost have a barrier that things aren't getting through.
It is a barrier.
Yeah.
So it does a great job of it. And, I mentioned the Christmas trees and the mulch pile over here. I mean, that is probably one of the best ways of reallocating. I mean, let's face it, Memphis got a lot of trees.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of, actual organic waste because of that. People trimming trees, taking care of trees, MLG&W cutting them down. All of that gets ground up and mulched. And, the fact that they drop it off right over there at the Agri Center, anybody that wants it can drive up and, go fill you up a couple of bags and you got free mulch. That's a great
That's
use.
a cool thing.
And you were saying something off the air, too, which I appreciated, in terms of, like, the idea of building a dump, much like how you arrange a lake, like the idea of the manner of pitch that occurs when you're assembling a dump fire.
Well,
or prepping a dump fire.
Well, everything is, everybody is piled on to knowledge of the past. So, in ancient times, we didn't have fire trucks and pumps. You built a retaining pond and you put a door in it. And if you needed to put out the big pit, you open the door and boom, you put out the pit. Same technology is still being used today in different places. I'm going to say this for the Shelby County facility. It is so well managed in the wilderness buffer zone around it. One of my favorite little sightseeing side tours is the flock of wild turkeys that live there.
Now, what do they get out of this? Is there stuff they pick over?
No, they're not. There's nothing for them to go dig around in. They're not out in the trash. They're in the wooded areas, the wooded buffer area around the dump.
Because I would guess that's protected stuff. They know those trees
nobody's
aren't going
hunting
anywhere.
in there.
Right.
Nobody's in this. I mean, it's a little it's an unintentional wildlife preserve. But
now that's interesting.
they're there. But I mean, that's how well managed it is that you have something like that.
Now,
Yeah.
do dumps create fertile or infertile soil around the area?
Well, I mean,
Now it depends on what you're doing. I will pick on one of the dump policies in Las Vegas. There are several farms out there that have contracts with all of the major hotels and the casinos, and they put all of their food waste completely separate from all of their solid waste, because all of their food waste basically goes out to hog farms.
Oh, I thought it was going to be like fertilizer or something.
Well, it becomes fertilizer.
One other step down
But
the
it
road,
also
yeah.
becomes bacon and pork chops.
There you
go. And you talk about some fine bacon and pork chops. How about the pig that's been living off the Bellagio? I'm just saying. There's a huge science into what to do with your leftovers, and properly managed,
Yeah.
Everything becomes a resource.
This is the cosmic homeowner without us even getting to the subject yet.
Yeah, because the other thing about it is going to the dump. The other benefit of that is it just gives you a bigger perspective on. You've seen that, Allan. You look around, you're like, wow, we're sure throwing a lot of things away.
Yeah,
which we can do better on that front. But
it gives you the perspective of not only where. For some, if going to the slaughterhouses, it's the idea of where does it come from. This is where does it go?
Yeah, so it's good to get some perspective, and it's actually a kind of a fun trip. So this weekend, forget Christmas shopping, forget all that. Throw the kids into the SUV and drive on over and have a family trip over to the county dump.
Well, it's such an unsung hero and integral part of city life these days. But my biggest pitch to this is, please use this resource.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Don't just stick everything at the curb. Sometimes things need to be make a special trip.
Don't leave it someplace it's not supposed to be.
Okay. Well, gosh, we couldn't be shifting gears any further apart, but let's shift gears, Max.
And now, great moments in building history.
Well, here we are in the Christmas season, Allan, and it was like I thought, well, for great moments in building history, the first thing that came to mind is, well, is there anything Christmassy we could pick out? And so my first jumping off point was what I guess we can consider the world's most famous Christmas tree every year, the giant tree. It can vary, could be 75 to 100. I think they had a tree that was like 120 feet tall, but over at Rockefeller Center every year in New York, they have a live tree there. Although in learning about Rockefeller Center, I got to be honest, I didn't realize what a rich history it has. And there's a lot. It's bigger than I thought. It's more involved than I thought. And I didn't, there's parts of Rockefeller Center that I didn't even realize were part of Rockefeller Center.
Quick question. Is the building connected to Rockefeller Center called 30 Rock, or is it part of Rockefeller Plaza?
I think it's now nicknamed. I mean, I think 30 Rock is technically its nickname, Max.
Like the show.
Yeah, I thought there was an official name, but now I'm Radio City Music Hall. All these things, NBC. It's actually was a very it became the home of a media home too, a media empire. But
well,
a lot going on over there.
It kind of wound up, but well, all right. Let's go back in time. Let's go start with old John D. Rockefeller.
Okay.
Welcome to the, I guess the robber baron era, the era of the titans of industry that shaped America. Any number of shows on the History Channel can tell you all about them.
Yeah.
And before you judge them too harshly, remember everyone is a creature of their time.
Yeah, you can't really put the same standards on because it was just a different era.
It was a different time, a different era, and honestly, if it wasn't this person, it would have been someone else. Somebody jumped up and led the charge.
Okay.
For right or wrong, and John was big in business, and once he was successful. And they owned a lot of land. They had a lot of money. Well, here comes John Jr. And his mark was, hey, I can pick up this cheap piece of land kind of right over here, about 22 acres, and, I can build something on it.
Yeah.
And he started out with
22 acres in New York is huge. Although I thought it started at 11 and then it got absorbed. Other places got absorbed, but it was a lot, even 11 acres, but 22 is a lot in New York City.
Well, it wasn't quite as staggering then as it is today.
Right.
But, it's one of these, the opportunity came up and he bought it. So here we go. They started out mostly with housing and tenants and then changed their mind about that as we were getting into different eras of history because of we have to get into the 20s before Rockefeller becomes kind of what we would recognize today as Rockefeller Center.
Well, and plus there was this little thing called the Great Depression that
there's a whole big thing there.
project.
Yeah.
So it's actually really interesting, and we make sure we also give credit to the founders of the Christmas tree that's over in Rockefeller Center and the history of that. There's a lot to unpack, and we're going to do that when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Hey, this isn't faux dive. This is a dive.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from Allan's Spices over at allanspices.com, ALLANS, if you're hunting around. And our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, we're in the middle of our great moments in building history, talking about Rockefeller Center. And, of course, when a lot of times, especially this time of year, when you think of Rockefeller Center, you think of that big Christmas tree and the skating rink. And as majestic and as big of a production as that tree is, it had a very humble beginning. And so we're going to talk about that tradition. There's a lot to get to with Rockefeller Center. Before we get to that, though, let's talk about our good buddy Jay Hill with Big M Roofing and Remodeling. I haven't heard much from Jay in the last few weeks.
He's a
Allan.
busy man.
Okay, I guess he's in the thick of things right now. So, which makes sense because we were just talking about the roof that I have on my house and that you have on your house, and it's a Big M roof, and so I'm sure other people are taking advantage of that. But Jay Hill is all about the exterior protection of your home. From roofing to gutters to siding to windows, and actually all interior and exterior remodeling as well, except kitchens and bathrooms. He wants no part of that, unless you want to just do the rough work or whatever. But when it comes to Jay, we always also like to showcase his roofing expertise because, for one thing, he's always 5 stars with the Better Business Bureau. He is a GAF Master Elite Installer. And GAF, they don't play games. They are constantly developing, and we talked about how technology has changed over the last 50 years. Well, roofing technology has changed quite a bit. These are roofing systems that they're putting in, and these things are so well engineered that, for one thing, they will make your house run. They start paying for themselves because they're energy efficient. Your house will run cooler in the summer, and these things last longer. So well that they offer lifetime transferable warranties. But also what sets Jay Hill apart is, there's a couple things. For one thing, he is very, I'd say he's very street savvy when it comes to keeping his overhead low. He only deals with the essentials, which is great for you because even though they have all of this expertise, his prices are always very competitive as well. But also, Jay is a former insurance agent, and so sometimes you might have problems with your home, and the question comes up, is this thing covered by my homeowner's insurance? Well, that's a whole process in and of itself, and it's important that you address this in the proper order. So Jay really should be the first person you call. He's going to come out. It's a free inspection. He's going to look over the damage, and if it seems like it's going to be covered by your homeowner's insurance, he can help you navigate that entire claims process. If you do it in reverse, if you call your insurance company first, you may be setting yourself up for problems because Jay, he's basically going to be your advocate in this process. And so we love and also Jay likes to deal directly with his customers. So when you call Jay, you're going to be talking directly to him. He brings a real energy and enthusiasm to every project he's a part of. We love Jay Hill. He's a great guy, and we want you to give him a call. So get in touch with him at 901-484-5645 or go to bigmroofingandremodeling.com. Well, Alan, before the break, we were talking about, here we are on the cusp of the Great Depression. Oh, sorry. Do you have something, Max?
I just wanted to kind of say something with a bit of context here with regards to our discussion.
Oh, okay.
The man we're celebrating today, Dick Van Dyke, he's old enough to be a part of this history.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, because it is Dick Van Dyke's 100th birthday, so he probably remembers this. How old would he have been? He would have been 8, 9 years old, something when this. I'd have to do the math, but he was a kid at least in this
let's
era.
see. It's, as I say, he'd have been 1 year old when the Opera House decided to move.
Okay. He would have remembered parts of this as a kid.
Oh,
I don't know
growing
where
up, he would have been, he probably performed at one of these early on.
But Rockefeller Center, the way I saw it described and full disclosure, I've never been there. I've only stopped in New York once at the airport, so I'm not a New York very savvy person, but I do know enough that this thing, they described it almost as a city within a city. There's a lot of things going on at Rockefeller Center, and it came about because in the middle of the Great Depression, the Rockefellers thought, well, for one thing, they owned all this land, and if they didn't do anything with it, they were still going to be paying like $1 million a year in taxes. But also, they saw this as an opportunity to help put people to work. I mean, they employed 40,000 people building Rockefeller Center. So, I mean, it's like a complex, right, Allan? I mean, it's several. We're talking about several properties here.
Right. Well, we go back to 26, and the opera was kind of looking for a new opera house, and John D. Rockefeller Jr. got involved in the process, and they began looking at the viability of what to do, but the stock market crashed in 29.
Yeah, so that changed a lot of plans, obviously.
So, you couldn't move. You couldn't afford to go anywhere. And Rockefeller did something really interesting. He ran over. Now, we have here in Memphis an Orpheum Theater.
Yeah.
And the Orpheum was named for the entertainment routine or the traveling acts.
Oh, right.
Were part of the Orpheum Theaters.
That's right.
And there was a company called Radio Keith Orpheum, better known as RKO.
Right.
Radio Keith Orpheum. And Rockefeller happened to know them. And there was also of course, RCA was a huge company. And there was a new budding little thing called the National Broadcasting Company.
Because where are we with the technology of television at this point? I'm trying to remember what was
We're
radio. No, but there was radio, but television was right around the corner,
we're
right?
We're coming. I mean, because the technology is, the tech is changing rapidly.
Radio was established, so they built a media complex into this.
And but what's kind of
NBC,
funny is all because the opera couldn't move.
Oh, okay.
And, the opera. The opera's stuck.
Yeah.
So, we got the Met, we got the opera. Who will? All right, we got media. We already got people coming here for that.
Yeah.
So if we've already got the opera, let's get the Orpheum, the vaudeville and the traveling singers and that kind of stuff. Let's get the Orpheum system coming here too.
Is that what Radio City Music Hall started as? Is that what that's
that's part of RKO and RCA, the Radio Corporation of America. That's what RCA stands for.
Yeah.
And then that budding little baby company RCA spun off called NBC.
Yeah.
So because the opera couldn't move, he went, I already got this much. Let's get the rest of them. And he leased and zoned and convinced people that they all needed to be here.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of the mentality of where do you build a car lot? You build it next to another car lot because you offer something they don't, but that way their customers come see you and your customers go see them.
I always wondered why there's so many car lots next to each other. But
because it makes it easy. Because it makes a destination. So Rockefeller went, I already got the opera.
Yeah.
They're already coming here for the opera. Now, what's the next big thing? Well, the next big thing is theater, Orpheum. So let's get the theater people over here. I got my opera people and I got my theater people. So who else is in media? Radio. Let's go get, so he began assembling.
We should explain, too, because back in the day, radio was like in front of a live audience a lot of times.
Oh, yeah, it was huge.
It was a big deal going to see a radio show.
Absolutely huge. So welcome to the idea of, well, I already got this part of it. Let's add some more. And Rockefeller Center, Rockefeller City, began taking place.
The thing that's interesting to me about all this media stuff, though, Allan, is because, back in the day, there was very little, I don't know what you could say, competition. You could literally have a radio show back then, like the Shadow or the Jack Benny show, where there could be tens of millions of people listening. I mean, think of the audience they had back then. It was insane. The War of the Worlds, how many people heard that? It's just nuts, man. So building something with that kind of reach was a big deal. I mean.
Well, this is all coming out of the Great Depression. The RKO building was finished it was the same year as King Kong, 1932.
But you know what's interesting to me about the architecture in this era? Because if you look at the way cars were designed, or if you look at the way buildings were designed, and especially here at Rockefeller Center, and the artwork they chose, it's all very, I would say it's hoping for a better, I guess it's showcasing, I don't know, positive things. Like they have Atlas and they have Greek gods statues, and then they have, the architecture is designed to look very triumphant and strong and powerful and beautiful. And it's interesting that they were trying to aspire to impressive things back in the Great Depression. I wonder how much of that really kind of helped us. I know World War II helped get us out of the Great Depression, but I think even some of the architectural designs and the design choices helped make the country feel better, I guess.
I mean, look at the Hoover Dam. That's just about as magnificent a thing as you can get. It's like, I know there's like the fallout of like what happened with the Hoover Dam, but either way, it's a pretty impressive looking structure considering the era it was constructed in.
Yeah. Think of the stuff that came out of the Great Depression.
It was it was kind of a reset, and it was a horrible time for a lot of people. However, it pushed a lot of people into doing things they maybe wouldn't have done.
Yeah,
because we got an amazing amount of products and companies that are still today with us came out of all this.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. So we'll have a few more things to say about that when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
The likelihood of you dying violently within the next 5 minutes is 87.61%. You are about to get me killed. We will both die because of your negligence.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from Allan Spices over at allanspices.com, and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, we're talking in our Great Moments in Building History about Rockefeller Center over in New York. And it's a pretty impressive complex, 22 acres. The history of it's very interesting. It sounds like they built it right at the perfect time. Actually, they built it, I want to say they broke ground about 1931, right in the thick of things with the Great Depression. And I mean, I'll hand it to the Rockefellers. They were trying to employ people during the Great Depression, and they wound up employing 40,000 workers. So
somewhere between 40 and 60,000 of the estimates.
Yeah, and it's not just there on site. It was all sorts of people that were processing the materials that came to them, and the cleanup and the transportation and everything that went in with that, because that you have to create an entire infrastructure for that. I just want to say something though, because what started the whole hunt for me with this was just thinking about the world. It's got that huge Christmas tree every year. It's a real tree, and what's interesting is they bring it in from different sources. It's not like there's one source. They had one that they brought from some guy's front yard over in upstate New York.
Maybe that's why it had an owl inside of it.
Yeah, well, there you go. You want to talk about that? Because that was the 2022 tree. Actually, they got it all the way there, and they had a little owl that hung out there in the tree the whole time. And they saved it. They rescued it and, took it to a preserve, and they named it Rockefeller.
Okay.
But I just want to say something. This whole tree, the thing is, because at the beginning of the show, I mentioned that I was at the inaugural first ever Colonial Acres Christmas parade, which was a purely organic thing that just came about because of Kendrick Simpson in the neighborhood organized it with 3 weeks to go. And I think this is going to turn into something big for our community. Well, the Christmas tree tradition started the same way. There was a lot of Italian immigrants that came in, and they were working on the Rockefeller Center, and they were really, they were homesick, and they wanted to celebrate Christmas. So they all chipped in, and I want to say they bought like a 20-foot tree, and they decorated it with whatever they could find, berries and things like that. And there's a famous photograph you can see of this first ever tree. And the Rockefellers wanted to honor that tradition by making a place for a Christmas tree every year. And it's interesting, the humble beginnings of something. I always like that, man, when things build organically. So I just think that's a cool thing.
Well, I think it is a lot of just paying attention.
What do you mean?
Well, you could have very easily dismissed it as, oh, look what the cute little workers are doing.
Yeah.
They could very easily have just turned a blind eye and said, they'll get over that and gone about the business. Instead, they paid attention and went,
we wouldn't have a Rockefeller Center.
Why don't we elevate this? Why don't we get involved? And they did.
If you look at a city, like one of the things we went down the road about a month ago celebrating a lot of Memphis locations and everything. And one of the things I thought was interesting, Allan, is some of those you were talking about. You learn, it's always interesting to learn the history of things like Ernestine and Hazel's or whatever. And there's always a very organic backstory. And it's and think of a place like New York. There's probably thousands of locations that have this kind of a history to it. Just very, just grassroots.
Like France's Tavern, I thought, is in New York. And that's where the founding father, you could say that our country was born in a tavern.
Yeah. Yep. So
in a lot of ways. Now, the takeaway to this, how do you take something like Rockefeller Center and tie it back to average, your average home?
Mm-hmm.
And this time of year, I'm gonna slightly beat the not quite dead horse, but he's looking a little pale.
Well, it is National Horse Day.
It is National Horse Day. The one thing that you take away from this is the workflow of your home and your lifestyle, because your life changes every 7 years. You got little bitty kids for a while. You got bigger kids for a while. You got really big kids for a while. Next thing is you got grandkids showing up. You got, so every spot in your life, there's room here. Like you just got through remodeling. You added new air conditioning. You got a new roof. As you do these things, you look at the ROI. You also have to look at what are you doing different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, maybe you used to not entertain. You had a house full of kids. You had Legos all over the floors. You had, you didn't entertain much back then.
Yeah.
Well, now
you're more
your kids
inclined
are
to do
coming
stuff.
home with boyfriends and girlfriends or new spouses or possibly grandchildren. So when you look at these facilities, you also get to look at how they have aged and changed and what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that because I have to imagine Rockefeller Center became a touristy destination. It became a place for entertainment, and it's probably why they went ahead and built a skating rink out front.
Exactly.
Why not? Let's add to the value of this place.
It's cold here 4 months of the year. We have to do practically nothing except give people a spot to do it.
Right. And that place is popular, too.
Now, here's a question with regards to something like Rockefeller Center. The question comes with, well, what can afford to change? But at the same time, what can afford to stay the same? Because legacy thinking isn't necessarily all that bad if you use it right.
So, in other words, you don't just throw everything out. But
well,
maybe this was a modular idea. It's a center. Maybe some things technology advances and it makes it obsolete, but you fill it. You don't just tear it down. You change it, because it's a television center now, right? I mean,
Right.
it does
But it
radio, but
started
radio isn't
at
the
opera.
featured, right?
It started at opera, moved to theater. So now we got opera and theater. We didn't replace it. We just kept adding. And then as radio began really dominating the media of, we had opera, we got theater, we got radio. Of course, radio began to fold immediately into television.
Yeah.
So as we keep, advancing the tech, you keep advancing and upgrading I will tie directly to your house. You did not have central air. Your home was never designed for central air.
Yeah, because back then the ductwork wasn't
didn't
the
have
right
it.
kind of ductwork. Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't have it.
Yeah.
You were when your house was built, there was really just now coming out with window units.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
That's true, yeah.
So, so now you didn't tear your house down, but you did have to make some allocation.
Yeah.
You did have to put up with a little inconvenience to bring yourself to the modern world. But the minute you became modern, you suddenly had a direct benefit.
Well, that's true. Yep.
So when you look at places like Rockefeller Plaza, which has been different things over the years of depending upon the needs of the people operating around it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I'm going to go with, it's not so much legacy thinking as it is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, and location. It
really comes down to what are you doing? What do you need?
Yeah. No, it's a cool project. I mean, Saturday Night Live, it's their home, right?
Absolutely.
It's think of all the history in this place. So yeah, hats off. It's a great project, and there are lessons to be learned in home design too. Maybe that's why you have that big great room at your house that's changed purposes 3 times since you lived there, just based on how old your kids are.
Exactly.
The latest thing. So, but yeah, it's pretty cool. I would encourage you folks, if you want to go down the rabbit hole on that one on YouTube. It's pretty good. So, but good stuff today, you guys. But the clock waits for nobody, so it's time to get out of here. So you've been listening to another action-packed episode of Tool Talk Radio. So on behalf of my buddy Allan Gilbreth and our pal Max over there behind the glass, I'm Joe Thorderson. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.